Okay, I'm going to start talking about practical songwriting for guitar. There's a specific song that was popular during the 90s. It was written by the Smashing Pumpkins and the RIA. He said, please don't say more than that. I will play like a 15-second section from that song, please. Now, one thing they often did during that time is something called layered recording, where that's actually three guitarists are required to recreate that please electroacoustic passage exactly. Uh, Here's what was going on, and yes, very often they had hitting guitars behind stage. Seriously. Anyway, later in that song, which of course now I can say is mayonnaise, there's a situation which is very difficult on stage. That is a very, very heavy distortion in a situation where the bass is important. It's also combined with the fact that their bass player, Darcy or whatever she called herself, please, was not one of those thump bass people. The technique she used to play bass, which was basically tapping the strings, simply could not generate a rocky dun 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 on the bass. It was just like, and that was simply a sound that could not please penetrate a big, of a big strumming with heavy distortion. It turns out that they basically put a combination solution to that to try to basically lower the weight of the guitars down to a level where the bass can be heard without causing the auditorium to shake. Please. This was their solution. What they did is of course, I'm going to use the term treble guitar because, of course, that makes sense, please. The two people who are playing treble guitar, yeah, we guys go ahead and, we just banned everybody who does actually want to write guitar music, please. The two people who are playing treble guitar each only played three strings on the guitar. While I obviously couldn't talk about that in front of weird, audiences, just like that can't be said today, actual people who want to learn to play guitar understand the purpose of that and the purpose of that environment. One, the three string chord, of course, easy to play. You have another one that has a benefit of requiring pick control. If you're using what may be called, small chords, and you can call them that. If you're using small chords, you cannot do the classic strumming. You must actually have a good control of the pick. That is useful later. Because I would argue, because this was obvious, nothing is more detrimental to playing guitar than the wide power strum. Well, of course, the thing is that's not a guitar. Doing that wide motion with the right hand to like strike all the strings so hard that they occasionally snap. That's why it's not playing guitar. You're not using a proper playing method if that playing method damages the instrument, please. Therefore, a type of strumming that please. Therefore, a type of strumming that might possibly damage a guitar is not an appropriate method for guitar. At the same time, very careful and controlled picking of guitar is, please, qualified up, please, playing the guitar correctly. It also separates a certain type of player from a different type of player, which of course is despised. Please. Yeah, no matter what genre that other type plays. Seriously. This begins some new methods, please, that allow people to quickly play chords. This of course also makes This of course also makes certain chords such as the dreaded F more accessible. Please. Here's the thing. This is not gonna turn a person into a power player. But that's a problem when you're playing electric guitar, seriously. As other instructors will tell you, you do not have a situation where the string contacts a pickup. Yeah, for any weird reason, if you get the E, that causes a problem every single time with recording when there's a spike. It's not possible when doing it really with any standard, please. Of course, please. It's not possible with any regular, please, guitar setup that in the case where the string contacts the pickup, you have a big coming out of the please. And yeah, as disgusting as it is in another area. It really is. Nothing is less, please, professional than hearing but that's not the drums. Like other intelligent people, I'm going to leave the area of tuning to people who are good at dealing with guitar tuning. This, of course, is a standard guitar tuning, which is shown here. Here's the first chord of this method. It's the chord G. The method of string muting is immediately introduced. Obviously, any of several obvious techniques are used to mute the high E string, and then a controlled picking or strumming is used to never activate the bottom two strings. I will simply say this with the expertise of a general musician. Whoever said that it doesn't matter if you hit the wrong string, was not interested in playing solo. Not solos, just solo. He's laughing at the commentary. This here is the C major chord. It should be noted that the G previous was G major. Yeah, everybody knows how to play E minor on 3 strings. Welcome to the world of guitar performance and guitar success. This one is so, please, private to the composer. They're going to stop here. Thus I become Fred Zeppelin. Thank you, and good night. Players have methods. Teachers have methods. I might start using this one. Of course, the first method is the idea of might. Please. I'm going to basically review 2 things that I discussed here and why running what I'm going to call crapper instead is not the goal, please, of the modern musician. The first crapper would be a situation where Smashing Pumpkins decided to hire a different bassist. The problem is that one is actually less vile than just throwing the song away. You have to remember that a song is no longer the same song as soon as it becomes a remix. Because a remix is necessarily a different song than the original. Seriously. You gotta give kudos to the Smashing Pumpkins for finding ways to solve acoustic problems that weren't so, let's just try something else. The truth is, the 90s were a days, especially grunge scene, in my view, and I don't need my name or my image, seriously. So it gives me one of those ghosts which said, speak to gods of, how to God a guitar without actually being God, but your face all over the place. The goal of all musicians is to solve problems in the shaping of sounds. Please. That legacy, of course, continues with this instruction, please. The last one is the idea of not changing guitar tuning. I'm sorry, but what expert orchestra said about the violin actually does apply to the guitar. It turns out that the actual standard tuning for guitar was the one decided generally to be the best one. It can be argued that it is, And if one looks at the please chord theory behind that tuning, that actually the statement now is obvious, especially requiring the two range most strings to both be E, please. Of course, that goes down a long history of music with different types, and finally, that solves a large problem that was a genius involving integration with other instruments I know, such as the drum. I want to think about that. Really. Because that brings in the worlds of rhythm playing and other things useful to anyone who actually, plays guitar. Or electric bass. And it separates the guitar from the ukulele and the banjo, which is important. This ends lesson 1 of practical composition for guitar. This has been a production of 6